Despite last week's Black Swan, previous altcoin pick BAT put in a decent 50% breakout move, with ZEC giving us 559% gains since posting the setup back in September. And we've got more for you today, so stay right there. Hi, this is Paul with ArcisFX with your top altcoin picks for the week. So obviously the altcoin market is still reeling from the Black Swan event, which occurred last weekend. So make sure you keep your eye on Bitcoin to ensure you're not caught out by any more sudden downwards moves. But this is Sol Crypto OG Solana, with the price action throughout August ascending through this upper channel just to break down at the end of September. We've put in a bearish retest of that channel almost perfectly. We've had the crash on Friday, and then we've put a meager retest of this horizontal resistance area with the 50 MA just overhead. So we've got a lot of resistance overhead, and you can see this red order block highlights that. But we do have the 200 MA on this, the daily chart, fast coming in as support, and let's just make this what it is now, resistance. So the 200 MA should help shore up this area, but you can see there are some order blocks which have formed down here at around 133 and also a little bit further down at around $100. Now this obviously is a very bearish scenario, but if you are looking for a Sol play, lower support here at around 180 to 175 would be the area to look to come in on. But because of course the market is a little bit hesitant, you probably want to come in as flush with the 200 MA as you can, i.e. the bottom of this support range, as I said, about 175, and then look for a bounce. Then of course, in terms of risk management, if you don't get the move up from here following that, and you do get a breakdown, at least then you're probably going to get the bearish retest to give you a nice no loss exit before the price action descends higher. So caution here, but a potential local support buy here with Sol. Next up, we have the queen of crypto, Ethereum, USD 4-hour chart. Now, we've been talking for a while about this 3650 level, which we tapped following the crash on Friday, and Ethereum is still stuck in this descending channel. That, of course, means that it is probable that we'll have a break to the upside at some point. I think Ethereum needs to find its feet first, so unless Bitcoin makes a really strong move which pulls the whole market up, I would expect at this point a retrace back down to around this area, around 3650, which has got nice confluence with this previous resistance area and of course the bottom of this channel's lower diagonal support. So you can see you've got one set of buyers here, one set of buyers here. So I think we could see it revisit here to potentially put in the double bottom. And again, a good place to come in to manage risk management, because if the market does continue lower from here, then as we've been talking about, most likely the bulls will be able to push the price action back up to give you a no-loss exit, even if the market continues lower from here. So it's not about getting the best possible price or the lowest possible price. It's getting the most manageable entrance point and the most manageable entrance price in terms of risk management. So 3650, this little pocket here is looking pretty good for Ethereum. This is Cello, previous altcoin pick, which is still in play. You can see here was the crash, but it seems to have recovered and is back in this pattern. But bearing in mind, this is a descending triangle pattern of sorts, but we did have a strong breakout before the events of last weekend, and this setup is definitely still in play. We still have nice confluence with the 200 MA right at this upper resistance line, so a breakout as originally planned from here could give us a nice opportunity to enter at around this level. So let's just adjust this because it is a little bit lower now. So something like that might be nice, and you can maybe put your stop loss below here. That's not ideal, but you've got a few options in terms of your risk reward ratio there. But I would definitely be waiting for bullish confirmation. For Cello, I wouldn't be looking to come in at support at the moment because of this wick, potentially giving sellers a bit of confidence that we could have more downside. So definitely wait for an upside break, preferably back into this range, and then you could look to come in for a retest entry like so. But caution here, wait for your bullish signals. This is BAT Basic Attention Token, one of our winning altcoin picks this week, but still another opportunity to enter and get some more gains seems to be brewing. So we've had a strong breakout of this slightly descending channel, which is just below strong resistance. But because this breakout occurred after the Black Swan event on Friday, it's showing that Basic Attention Token has got a lot of resilience. So we're just waiting for the retest back down to support. So you've got a few plays, but the ideal entry would be to come back where this dashed line is, right on the flip side of this descending channel, and then look to make a move up from here, maybe scaling in once here, scaling in again here, and that's it. And because we've had a nice strong bullish move after the crash, this is showing that Basic Attention Token has still got quite a lot of resilience. Although, just bear in mind, of course, you could argue that these strong moves were a result of the Black Swan event on Friday filling a lot of these lower down limit order entries, but the fact that there hasn't been a big sell-off and we've managed to maintain a bullish posture shows that regardless of the reason for this pump, people will be paying attention. So just be patient here, wait for a retest, watch this drift down and try and come in with an entrance. But again, watch what Bitcoin's doing. But just a reminder, these setups are coins or tokens that are simply providing opportunities to trade based on established TA and are available to trade across a variety of centralized and decentralized exchanges. You can trade them any way you see fit, it, long or short for intraday trading or long-term holds. We provide the analysis, but you decide how to trade. And also bear in mind that the movement of these assets is very dependent on the market weather, the money flow, and what Bitcoin is doing. So to trade these successfully, ensure you are subscribed to all of our weekly coverage, and be sure to check out the most recent Bitcoin update video, as that contains all of the info you need to trade these setups successfully. Also, I've provided links to these charts in the description for your easy access, and by joining our private group, you'll also be able to load and edit them directly in your own trading view to save time. This is ZEC, also one of our winning picks today, and just to highlight the big picture for ZEC, this of course is where we are at. We're right all the way up here, not far off all-time highs. So this is definitely a asset which could come crashing down quite easily, so fair warning here. But if you are looking to get in these assets for bullish continuation, we have a bull flag here, and the price action is currently stuck inside of this pattern, squeezed by this, the 200 MA on the 1 hour chart. So if you do get a breakout from here, you can look to come in perhaps on the flip side of this and ride it up here, bearing in mind of course that this is all-time highs for ZEC, and if we do break above, we're entering price discovery. So ZEC is obviously very bullish, and it's been very resilient, and it's had some massive gains, but you'd expect a significant retrace from here. So common sense would suggest we're going to have quite a significant pullback for ZEC, which would invalidate this more short-term play. But if you are looking to get into ZEC and you think it's going to head higher, this would be the way to do it. Wait for a breakout of this pattern, make sure we're maintaining the 1 hour 200 MA, and then look to come in on the flip side, bearing in mind that this, as you can see, is nice resistance and support. So that would be the play. High risk though, so fair warning here. This setup is not for the faint-hearted. This is SUI. We've got a couple of setups now which are essentially supportive of more downside from Bitcoin, whilst also offering opportunities at the moment. So this is SUI, and the price action, as you can see, is at local support. But the problem is, of course, because we had this wick following the crash, that could suggest to sellers that a move back down to major support is on the cards. And we are, of course, in a downtrend, but we are trying to form a double bottom of sorts at the moment. So if you are looking to get into SUI and you feel Bitcoin is going to bounce from where it is, this area between about 2.6 and 2.45 is a nice place to come in, but probably want to come in at the lower end of this range as opposed to the upper, just to mitigate any potential risks of further downside. But if Bitcoin does give you a signal that there's more downside ahead, then you might want to wait for major support, which might mean you just sitting on your hands for a couple of weeks with this trade. But then you can see we should have a lot of fresh buyers coming in at this point. You know, again, if it wasn't for this wick, I'd be a little bit more bullish coming in at this level. But you have a couple of plays here. If we do get a bounce from Bitcoin, certainly we could see a move up from here. But the market is still reeling, so waiting for major support might be the safest play. But a couple of options there for SUI. And this is PEPE. This was previous top altcoin pick last week, which was giving us a couple of different scenarios depending on what Bitcoin did. And of course, Bitcoin went down as opposed to going up, which has now pushed PEPE all the way back down to long-term support before very quickly recovering. And we're now above local support, which has been a bounce point really for a couple of years now. So we could see a nice strong recovery from here if Bitcoin manages to find its feet. But PEPE could very easily come all the way back down to long-term support, which would be a safer entry for a more medium-term position. But again, if you are looking to come in, I would come in as low down in this area as possible, which is about all those zeros, 590 level, to ensure that if you do get a further dip, it's perfectly manageable. Or if you are super cautious, of course, you can wait for a more stronger recovery and then a breakout of this pattern, but you could be waiting a couple of months for that. So SUI, SUI and PEPE are both offering us opportunities to enter over the next couple of days at local support, but of course are supportive of further downside from Bitcoin, which would give us a long-term support entry on both. Next up, we've got VVV, Triple V, and this is a very straightforward breakout play. Now, here's the wick from the crash, which means I can't really recommend coming in at a support buy at the moment, even though this does appear to be pretty good support right now. This wick again is going to cause a lot of confusion between buyers and sellers, so I'd avoid a support buy here. We really want to have some bullish confirmation, but the good thing is we do have a breakout entry level just above, and we did have an attempt at a breakout just a couple of days ago. So ideally you want to see Triple V break out to the upside, ideally come up a couple of ranges, and then you can look to come in at the SR flip for some profits up to maybe the 200 MA on this time frame, which is about 15%. Add a bit of leverage on there and you've got something to talk about. Now, of course, if you are inclined to come in at support, please make sure you've got some divergence and some additional confluence, i.e. oversold conditions on the RSI or something like that. But my recommendation would be definitely wait for bullish confirmation, a breakout of this level here at around 1.71, and then look to come in at the retest. This is TAO USD daily. We've got a nice breakout of this descending triangle pattern on the RSI, mirrored of course with the price action. This is the crash, of course, which had a nice bounce of support, so not a terrible reaction to the black swan event on Friday as essentially buyers scooped up this area. We've now had a breakout to the upside and are currently retesting this diagonal support on the RSI and the price action, with the 200 MA on the daily also coming in as support, giving you some options in terms of where you put your stop loss. So a play might look something like this, coming around this area with either a stop below the pattern, which will still give you a nice risk reward ratio. You could come in very tightly just below the 200 MA. I wouldn't recommend that because you're more likely to get stopped out that way. So currently in play at the moment for a potential entry, but again, ask yourself what you need to see from Bitcoin for a move up from here, as we don't, of course, want to enter this position, then Bitcoin just to head down again, which could pull this token further down. But nonetheless, we've had a breakout with quite reasonable volume, and this might be an ideal place to come in on. But any entrance below the 200 MA, I'll consider a bad idea, as that would suggest there's a more bearish scenario playing out. And just to touch base with this index, this is total 3 ES versus Bitcoin. So this is essentially total crypto market cap, excluding Bitcoin, Ethereum, and stablecoins paired with Bitcoin. And the reason why I want to show you this, of course, is because the crash last weekend afforded total 3 ES to essentially touch base with and bounce off this lower support area, which historically has been a bounce point for the market and arguably the starting gun for these previous altcoin seasons. So this could be the last shakeout before we see much more upside for the altcoin market, just to offset any fear you have at the moment following last weekend's events. As remember, we want to be buying red and selling green, not the other way around. So this could be a good opportunity for the market right now once Bitcoin finds its feet, as currently we only have upside ahead. But for more winning setups like this, please consider subscribing and also hit that like button and let us know in the comments what altcoins you're thinking of trading. We also have a private group you can join that posts charts like these throughout the week. But that's it for now. Catch you tomorrow for my weekly live stream where you can ask me questions about any of the coins or tokens you're thinking of trading. Hope to see you there.